Do you remember less is a bore? I mentioned this back in part 1 of the Modernism series. You probably know who said this. It was Robert Venturi. He's the architect who wrote Complexity and Contradiction in Architecture. And that book, published in 1966, is really where this idea begins. So if we want to understand less is a bore properly, we need to understand that moment. Think about the timing, 1966. That's almost 40 years after Mies van der Rohe built the Barcelona Pavilion in 1929. So by the time Venturi is writing, modernism is no longer new. It has already spread everywhere. From Europe to the United States, it became the standard way of designing buildings. People liked it because it was clean, rational, efficient. But at the same time, something started to happen. As usual, people were not really following the thinking behind it. They were just copying the form, just the surface. You still see this even today. Many architects keep repeating forms from here and there without understanding the logic behind them. And something similar was happening back then. As modernism spread, more and more buildings started to look the same because people were following the image, not the idea. And that's when Venturi began to feel something was a bit off, not completely wrong, but incomplete. And he was observing exactly that. That's where his book comes from. Now here's the real question. Was he fighting less is more by saying less is a bore? Not really. Because if we go back to the beginning, modernism in the 1920s was never about simple forms. It was about a question. What is essential? What is architecture at that time? But over time, that question was lost, and what remained was just the result. So the principle disappeared and only the surface stayed. And that's exactly the moment Venturi steps in. What he noticed was this: less is more stopped being a way of thinking and became a rule. You had to simplify, you had to reduce, everything had to look clean and perfect. And that's where the problem begins, because meaning was never a rule, it was a principle, and when it became a rule, it stopped reflecting life. Life is layered, contradictory, complex, and Venturi understood that. So when he said less is a bore, he was not rejecting modernism. He was pointing out what it had become. And you can start to see this in one of his projects, the Vanna Venturi House, completed in 1964. At first, it looks very simple, almost like how a child would draw a house: triangle roof, centered door, very familiar. But then you look again. Something feels different. The symmetry is slightly off. The scale feels unusual. Inside, things don't behave the way you expect. So it looks simple, but it's not. And that's exactly his point. He's showing that even something simple can carry complexity, because that's how life actually is. And that's where a principle becomes key. That's where design beyond form begins.